Are we happy and effective? Consultation with leading experts in the field makes it perfectly clear. Perfectly clear.
Hello everyone, Master Z101 here, and in this Boxcutter Hard Ops quick demo, I'm just going to be going over the process of making this particular cube that you see here, and just going through just a couple of the changes that Blender has as far as modeling is concerned, booleans, and just how you can kind of roll with the punches and keep on working even if sometimes it feels like software and programs are working against you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. Alright, so before we get started, I'm going to go under my preferences and locate box. And in this video, I am using Boxcutter version 703. I'm also going to check sort modifiers. I really hate clicking that. So to start off, in this video, I'm going to be using a little more hard ops in addition to Boxcutter, but hard ops is my favorite support tool of choice. And I just want to take you guys to BoxCity again. I got a lot of comments and questions and messages saying, hey man, I'm not making it to BoxCity, bro. So that's actually not good. So the first thing I'm going to do is scale the cube on the Y by 2. Ever since I've been in 2.8, I've kind of lost my sense of orientation. I used to always work on the X, and I found myself working on the Y now, and now I'm receiving messages. So let's hope I can make it through this video without receiving any phone calls. So I'm going to Control A, apply scale. I'm going to press Alt X to use the interactive mirror in hard ops. I'm so glad this thing survived. It almost didn't. We'll just mirror on the X, and we'll also mirror on the Z. If we look at this, this is all that's real. And if we run C#, it's not going to do anything because the mirror is first. We're going to just change this to angle, something I'm not completely for, and under the MISC, we're going to just make sure our angle is set to 60 on the auto smooth. In case you're not familiar, Control tilde brings up the hard ops helper, which is how you manage your modifiers. You can add materials, even set up your transparency, pass index, whatnot. In addition to hard ops having the material cut capabilities that haven't yet made it over to Boxcutter yet. Under the MISC tab, you can choose the behavior of how your cuts interact with the mesh, along with how sharp behaves before you even use it, mirror before you even mirror, along with various operator options pertaining to different operations within hard ops if you want to fine-tune the behavior. But down here is just a bunch of information on the mesh, so I don't want to go into it too long, but in case you've never seen this helper or don't understand what it is or why it is, that is a brief explanation on it. So we're going to go ahead and adjust the bevel width here. We'll press 2 to go into edge mode, and we'll select this one, remove the sharp, and we'll bevel the edge. Also, we're going to go in our modifier stack and add a weighted normal at the end here. Just has kind of a weird shading to it. Maybe it's something I did. Maybe it was something I did. Okay, there's some visual hallucinations there for you guys. So, continuing on, I'm going to press Alt W to open Boxcutter because old habits die hard. So the thing I want to emphasize is if I cut anywhere near this mirror line without applying the mirror modifier first, game over. It's going to get bad. It's going to get tricky. I mean, maybe not with all the non-destructive behavior, but if you look at this, it cut a hole in it. So that is something that will definitely happen. So we do have sort modifiers checked, but if we cut where this isn't taking place, then it should actually work. And in this video, it's not. So let's see why that is. Alright, we put the boolean at the end, it acts normal. Start moving the boolean down the stack. Things get weird. So I actually don't know now. Looks like Blender has changed a little bit since I just used it 5 minutes ago. What the hell? There's something going on where if it works if I use the x-axis, but not if I use the y-axis, or y negative is working, but not. Alright, let's just control N, start this over. We'll go ahead and add our bevel, change it to angle. We actually have a hotkey now where if you press, let's see, S, and that will actually change it from weight to angle on a toggle. However, since it doesn't have any drawing for it, which I suggested a couple of times, it's a little bit confusing to understand what's going on here. So, continuing on here, you know, I want to put the mirror first because I'm just not a crazy person, but when we cut, it'll work like it's supposed to. You know, we put a weighted normal on it and it's normal again. You know, this is actually the demonstration in the control setting I was trying to indicate previously. However, this wasn't what I wanted to focus on. So, you know, whenever I'm testing Boxcutter, whenever Boxcutter first made it over to 2.0, it didn't actually have hard ops at the time. Hard ops came later. However, you know, BoxCity was pretty much the art of just working a particular side. And we'll put some edge loops in here just to help it out and continue on with our adventure. Sometimes just giving it edges to connect to will help your booleans connect. With 2.8 being so unstable at this time, it's difficult to have a completely controlled situation in order to do a demonstration compared to usual. You know, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it many times, but normally before I do any sort of demonstration, I like to rehearse all the steps in advance and ensure that the process that I'm demonstrating is a one-stop shop, you know, not a whole lot of mistakes here. So this video contains more mistakes than I would normally like to see in an upload. So, not gonna be making it to the demo reel. Speaking of which, if you are out there using Boxcutter in production or hard ops, definitely email me at masterzion1001@gmail.com. Any works you have that you would like to have as part of a Boxcutter/hard ops demo reel. Hard ops has been around for quite a while, and sometimes I forget some of the user accomplishments. So maybe it's time that we make like a yearly demo reel or something to just kind of show the world what people are doing, because you know, it's not all boxes. You know, these mirrors just wacky doodle. You just gotta turn them off sometimes, really look at the mesh and decide, hey, is that mistake mine? But you know, in these situations, I would personally come down here, cut this off, be like, you know what, actually I want it, and then from here I can actually raise the B width, have some fun with this thing, except for that particular shape right there. But because I have hard ops, I can go in here and use, say, object scroll, and just scroll the mouse till I find the object I want. Did this cut really work out for anybody? Really? Probably not. I could probably just move it over and that would do it. So part of the joy of working non-destructive, you know, I haven't even begun stepping. Look at this. What could be going on there? We go past it. It's probably a hotline. But as I'm cutting here, notice that I'm, you know, working on one side. So I was explaining to someone on the Hard Ops Facebook group that, you know, we do have a series of fallback systems for situations where Blender gets uncontrollable. So it's always something worth trying out. In fact, for this shape, I should probably at least apply the intersect, and then from here I can, you know, I could also C#, and then I could just clean the mesh. Really, just one hit kill, destructively deal with that. except for these areas where the mesh is a little close. So speaking of that, I've actually been talking about making some sort of mesh display using the new shader system that's in 2.8 to maybe try to create some sort of overlay that shows you areas that are just close to each other. So that way you can take special care when using the Boolean modifier. But admittedly, I could say, you know, in this video, now that relaxing music is playing, that I was starting to migrate over to the bevel shader. So I mean, I was starting to cut boxes with far less control than normal. Like it was getting insane, guys. But besides that one piece in the back that we've handled destructively because of reasons, you know, here's another trouble piece. We could either go in and start applying things, but really I want to try to keep things live for a moment. So we're going to go into object scroll again, and we're just going to find out what's going on with this troublemaker. And really we have more options at our disposal than I even go over. So here's one right here. If you press Z during the bevel adjust, it will show you the wireframes of the bevel while you're adjusting it. So that way you can see that this is not a good idea. And it's really this one edge. We could move that one edge. Don't tell anybody. But you know what? Let's just get rid of it. And then this way we can just hide that, turn that off, and move on with our lives. So I know a lot of you guys are missing NCon. You know, talk about every night. You should see how feverishly I'm pushing for blue box. Also T-thick. I need T-thick so bad. But you know, gotta keep people chilling. You know, this is supposed to be a fun endeavor. So I try to keep that in mind. So we'll just go in here and do a little 2D cut from the side. There's actually a small behavior that was in here that was taken out that I am slightly disappointed over. Here it is right here, where you draw a shape in 3D, you know, completely perpendicular with your starting face. And when you let go, your mouse will kind of chill, right? And then when you move your mouse, you can, when you rotate your view, you're able to just kind of do this nice roll. And so, also the slices being in their own group, you know, let me know what y'all think about that in the comments. That's another one of Proxy's ideas, or maybe it was AR. I'm not exactly sure, but I was just saying, you know, I never asked for that one, for the slices to be in a collection. I kind of need those to be within the same main collection, because these things are layers now. So not having layer 0 to dump all my trash on is something I also have to get used to now. Like, I don't have a landfill layer. But the cool thing that I learned is that you can literally drop a collection inside a collection, and Boxcutter's smart enough to handle it. And so, you know, when I found this out myself, I was quite amazed. I was like, wow, this is fantastic work. Y'all thought so far ahead of my complaint that was going to come. But really, they said it was the byproduct of collections. For this area, I'm just going to draw another box. You know, sometimes one box can just solve another box. You know, there's a problem there. We'll have to talk about that someday, but that day isn't today. But I do want to emphasize, of course, that version 703 is out right now. I updated the market silently. Yeah, I received a lot of complaint emails in the past for sending out too many emails whenever we were doing changes, you know, 3 or 4 times a day. So if you want the daily emails, I'm working on a better notification system. I mean, at some point we're gonna have to add live update to this thing so we can really just get this stuff to you, because 2.8 is changing, you know, so much. You know, I bet the guys hate waking up to messages from me that says Boxcutter has been dead for 4 hours due to a registration error. What caused this, you know? But I'm the Night's Watch, and you, the users, are the Night's Watch. You know, I got so much feedback on this release and suggestions. You know, I can't even unroll it all at once. You know, a big one was people wanting to use this with a laptop. So, you know, I've been actually trying to use it on my laptop, and you know, I never thought I could use Blender on a laptop, but man, I was murdering some boxes, you guys. So I'm just left clicking and dragging. I mean, I don't really feel a need to say I'm just left clicking and dragging and making notches. You know, I'm gonna hold shift because we need to actually adjust this immediately. Selection is so racist now. Like, wire objects, they're not even people. You know, I love 2.8, by the way. But yeah, they don't treat wire objects like people anymore. You know, they used to be able to select wires like a mofo, but now less wire selection. So these cuts, really adding it on. You know, there's a Boxcutter test that I do called 77 cuts. So I just go through, I don't even count anymore. So, I mean, they're not literally 77 cuts, but if you're part of my Patreon, you know all about it because I put these files up all the time. But, you know, I'll just go through and just do 77 sequential cuts real quick. You know, I also definitely plan to come back with some more interesting assets to model next time. I mean, life isn't all cubes, but I cannot stress that cubes are the perfect way to get used to Boxcutter as far as getting acquainted with it, because it's a very controlled environment. I mean, after that, you can cut some spheres. I was doing some Boxcutter on an icosphere, just really cutting in like a sci-fi universe, my own futuristic BoxCity. So I mean, I do recommend all new users take this, at least on this one adventure right here, of just working in non-destructive, taking the cube and just cutting and slicing. You know, this box is its own box. I'm not even working in random. 16 minutes into the video. Wow, only 16 minutes. I feel like I've been here for hours. I should just work here for hours with y'all, and then we see what this box becomes. Because right here, you know, I don't think in 2.79 Boxcutter had the ability to hold shift on yellow box to keep it and then move it around, because I find that to actually be quite insane. Like, the core of Boxcutter is so strong, so strong. You know, it was almost getting unwieldy before. So a simple port would not have sufficed. It would have just been a band-aid. I like how the box stopped being a different color when I changed from yellow. It exposes kind of a little bit of how slice works behind the scenes there, because every time you slice, I didn't actually even mean to do that, but every time you slice, you'll see it changes colors because of the way it's handling things behind the scenes. Also right here, let's actually approach this cut again. It's like every cut's going to have to be handled with shift, right? Because I'm cutting delicately. God, treat these wires like people, man. But anyways, we're going to move this over, and you know, we could always just press Q, go in here, and you know, use Q array if we were trying to get crazy with it. You know, maybe something like that. Really, just a classic. Just had to. Sorry. Uh-oh, didn't mean to laser cut it. And you know, right here, let's just actually take a piece out. This right here, in my opinion, is one of the more painful type of cuts you can make, because you know, I just cut squarely into the face, right? So if we were to look at the wire of this, we see that Blender did a better job than I would have. So, you know, I'll shut up right there. So let's lower this, and you know the routine. Top view, left mouse drag. When left mouse drag was introduced to Boxcutter, I fought all of this stuff internally very hard. Like, I was like, you are crazy. You cannot change this tool like this. It's insane. But compromises must be made. And always I must be open to suggestion. You know, collaboration is what makes it fun. But, you know, if I haven't emphasized it already, proxy is kind of the principal designer of this redesign. So me and AR have kind of been handling the finer touches of you know, what the experience should be to you, the users, and buttons and whatnot. But Proxy really wanted to do this particular Boxcutter rewrite. So right here we're going to press V and just do an array, and we're going to just hold control and do it again, you know, maybe not like that. So repeat shape, I really want repeat shape to be able to be modified with shift, but shift's going to be busy, you guys, to be able to make some sort of live mode that can be held. In fact, it doesn't even work. So in fact, to fix this, I see that I have to go here, go to object scroll, but don't worry, we're gonna get that into shape. I have big plans for repeat. Also have big plans for circle. You know, circle right now is kind of what I would call level 1. In fact, let's raise this up. Let's put it where we want it. Let's see why all this insanity is happening. And that's why it's happening. It's happening because we did this cut here, and it put like a big face here, right? And then we cut these in it, which is just us cutting squares into a face. Just hard. You know, I call this hard booleans, you know. Like if you cut from an edge, it has something to support it, but if you cut from the middle of a face, it's just hard. It just shouldn't be done. So let's talk about fixing it, right? So this is where hard ops comes in. I mean, alternatively, if you're only using Boxcutter, you can just go in here in the outliner and start enabling all these cutters, but yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. I think I talked about that in the last video. I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this the hard way, but you know what the easy way is coming here, putting an edge. And Blender 2.8 is so crazy in so many departments that you can model in edit mode and just see updates, right? Like this is nuts. This is not in 2.79 at all. So I mean, when I saw the 2.8, you know, for what it truly was, beyond, you know, when it wasn't crashing and bevel didn't have glitches. I mean, you know, I love bevel. I'm like a lobbyist for bevel now. My goal is to just bother the right people until bevel is where it's supposed to be. You know, if hard ops ends and the bevel is better, yeah, I could die happy. You know, I've spent so long with it. It used to be subdivision, but now it's the bevel. I might get a tattoo of it. You know, if they improve it good enough. What the hell? It is the symbol of hard ops, because we are all about that bevel. So right here, we're just going to need to lower the angle. No ifs, ands, or buts. So once it lets me select the right, okay, I did select the right piece. It's like, do we really want to lower this to 20? Do we want to lower this to 10? I mean, do we? Because you know what that does to this side? Madness. So this is why we need weight, because but in this case we're working so live that, you know, we just have to be inventive with a cut like this. You know, I just can't rock with any angle. I mean, unless I want to C-sharp it, then fix it, but I want to keep everything live, because at the end, just want to show you how I would just use hard ops to just put this on the other side just real quick, you know, so you're not driving yourself nuts. With the previous BoxCity video, you know, the more people complain about, the more guilty I felt. I was like, wow, I showed people a one-day trip to BoxCity that only existed for one day, and then it's gone. And you know, that's totally not the way that I like to work. You know me, I'm all about predictable behavior. I want to keep using Blender even when I'm blind from using Blender. So we cut more boxes in here. Sheesh. That redo can be brutal sometimes. But I think we should, you know, get the rest of the tools in here. Get Ngon in here. You know, at least Ngon 2. And then from there, do a our next release, you know, go to Boxcutter 8, you know, give us some time, you know. Usually I like to sketch out ideas of things that the rest of the guys can laugh at and reject, like you know, dots. You know, that idea got killed so many times, but who's laughing now? Well, probably AR, because we don't even have dots anymore. You know, we lost dots again, but they're coming back. Hashtag free the dots. So, you know what I haven't used in a while is slice. And then, you know, I also feel that I haven't used circle. We haven't talked about circle. So circle, I need circle to not even have the corner option. The more I see it in existence, I mean, if you love the corner, mention that in the comments too. But my God, the circle, you know, it's not, it wasn't supposed to be that way. Trying to select the wire, really clicking at it, you guys. Sheesh. Really trying to click at that. You know, no love for wires. What the heck, Blender? So I'm just gonna, you know, select this, control click, drop another one, control click, drop another one. So right here we have a bit of an issue, and so we have a couple of things we could do here. The easiest would be to just either replace it or go through object scroll and locate it. Here we go, found the offender, and just move it over a little bit, because we added all that density. Sometimes it's not the best idea, but that's for you guys to decide in the comments. No, I'm kidding. I should stop recommending that. Get all these comments of people saying I suck. I promise I don't. You know, I'm working on cooler stuff. You know, I want to come through and make some guns, you know, but I do want to have hard ops at a level before I, you know, do a full course, you know, another level course explaining it. You know, it's like the curse of hard ops, right? Like there's always something holding me back from updating the docs, but you know, it's time to update the docs too. But you know, I see that right now with so many new people coming in, that and it's new people all the time, that I gotta start doing more regular content. You know, we've talked about doing like a podcast on hard ops or something, but there's always time issues. You know, get busy. I'm telling you, every time update ArtStation, get hired. I'm actually a free agent for I think 15 days, and then I'm busy on a ting that I'll be happy to tell you guys about soon. So right here, I just want to lower that B width because it's just not gonna handle circles too good. We're just dropping circles in here, and you know, really, it's kind of bad that we don't have circles for we don't have shift repeat keep circle. You know, we need that, so that should be relatively easy to add. So I'll be looking into that after this video. Also, I don't know how many of you guys were using PowerSnappingPies, but we did a small port job of getting it over to 2.8. Also, having a wire show on this is kind of crazy. I'll just select that, go into B width, and then press Z to turn that off. So I'm just going to keep working because it's sheesh. You know, there's an easier way to get rid of this as well, and that is literally to go here and use the bull scroll, which we're talking inside about maybe getting rid of the Q menu and allowing users to use that as the quick favorites instead of having hard ops and quick favorites even be together, and just have everything be done with the shift Q button. But it's a deeply spiritual decision. So, you know, back in the day, you used to be able to hold Alt and click stuff, and it would enable everything inside of it. But, you know, that's not a thing right now. Sure hope that comes back. Where you at, Greg's all I need you. He was the one that gave me a tip about that a long time ago on his adaptive samples blog. So just enabling all of these cutters. Wow. I just wanted to see how many cutters we have going on. Oh, sheesh. Do I have 300 cutters? You guys let me just zone out and make 350 cutters. Oh my god. Oh my god. Alright, I must also throw in that I am using the insanely powerful Threadripper 2. Also got a 2080 Ti now. But I'm using Eevee, so what am I doing? But I also still have the 1080 Ti in here. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and just right click select objects. And we're just going to select the main cube here and press Alt X. And we're going to just mirror this across the active. The other option is symmetry. I never use that with multi-selection. So I argued about that one at the time. I was like, who would ever use that? But we'll talk about that someday. So we're going to use mirror cross active and instantaneously either a crash or we will get everything. And so something got confusing. Is it this thing? Here, let's turn all these cutters off. What is overlay? I promise I practiced this earlier and it worked. Okay, I see what's going on. So we're going to need to C-sharpen this object, and then we will Alt-X, and we will use, let's just use symmetry, one and done it. And what else is here? Okay, so looks like, sheesh. So many objects are going to have this syndrome now. So let's just fix them all up. This one too. So C# always has a role to play in the workflow. At this point I'm using it pretty much to just apply modifiers. If we press Q and use C#, this is the worst tutorial ever, by the way. I was planning on coming in here and giving like another introductory lesson, but it turned out to be another rambling trip to BoxCity. But anyway, C#, gotta love AR. I will tell him complaint after complaint after complaint, and then he will come back and show me the next C#, and it will look like this. So right now it shows all the modifiers that are being applied by, in this case, Boolean and Solidify, because those are kind of crucial. We never activate bevel, mirrors, special occasions, array, also special occasions. These are determining how the bevel modifier is set up with the segments for the bevel. And then right here is also the bevel width that's also being added, which I never adjust. I'll use B width for that. Under sharpening parameters, additive mode will basically make it remove your sharps and then recalculate them again, which can be useful in some situations. God, my house is so hot right now. I'm not even in a house, I'm in an apartment. Why is this apartment so hot? But I'll deal with that after this video, maybe. Might have to pause it. Global will determine if the sharps are being set to the sharp that is being set here, or if that will remain independent on the mesh. By default, we leave it the way that it is, because if you want to set a particular auto smooth, we don't want our sharpeners changing that in the event you don't want it. So there's a practice run at me explaining it all. Get with the scientists and perfect that explanation for the final tutorial video. So continuing on, we're going to save this as BC 350 cuts 1_1. Can't believe I did 350 cuts. And we will quickly jump over to metallic. I love that look when you jump over to metallic. It just looks so great. You know, I also like to throw in a reflection cube map wherever it went. Oh, I want to make sure I'm in my default collections, not in the cutters, and then add a reflection cube map, and we'll snap the cursor to world origin. We'll also add an irradiance volume, and then we're just gonna go over here under the selection visibility and just turn those off from being visible, which is just something I've been doing lately. And from here we kind of have our cube set up, so the same result as before, but now I think I was able to present a slightly more stable workflow. And this is kind of the way I've always worked, where I've worked on one side and then went to the other. So I'll just save this file, and let's just go back and do the original idea that didn't work out, and I wonder why. So I elongated this box, and all I wanted to do was bevel this. Sheesh, that shadow just looks terrible. It makes me think my box has been kicked. It looks like bread. Alright, turn that off. And so we're going to use bisect. So bisect means it's going to cut it in half, put it on the other side. So bisect, and then we'll bisect it on the Z. So basically there's only one area that's real, and let's cut through this. So there's just something going on here. Let's rotate it on the Y. Control A, rotation. Let's turn off X, turn on Y, and let's cut it. What? Oh my. Ton? No, I'm kidding. But seriously, alright, let's just continue on with this. You know, that was kind of weird, but we're back up in the club kind of situation here. Real weird. But if it's gonna just go, then let's just do this demo, you guys. So I was gonna come here, do one of these type of cuts. Come here, do a cut like this, get the piece back, start adjusting the bevel width, and you know, this is like a double whammy. But seriously, I had this other shape I wanted to make that was like cooler, and also we want to go ahead and always collapse these one by one. Why do I do that? We have a button for that. I complained about it a long time ago and someone fixed it, and I just never use stuff. You know, it's up to you, the users. So I'll press G because where it was going wasn't going to work out, and we're just gonna cut off the fatty part of this slice like so, and from here we're going to press X and just cut inwards. And so the idea here was to just kind of show you guys cutting with the four-way mirror, but because we solved the mystery of the randomness within this video, you know, I'm gonna just leave the B-sides in here. You know, usually I cut a bunch of stuff out, but just gonna put this one up there raw. This will be used against me someday. But I remember that workflow you showed us doesn't work anymore, but I'll be old. Alright, so continuing on. Sorry, I just, you know, my mind just wanders whenever I'm modeling. Just think about stuff. You know, I'd go see my girlfriend, but she's like, no. So, I have to blend away the pain, you guys. But not married. Alright, so continuing on. Let's take this cube. Sheesh, I can't even tell what's selected anymore in life. There's so much I love with 2.8, but I'm telling you, it's just like barely there. I mean, not barely there, it's almost there. It's like almost showtime. And, you know, it's really showtime with the grease pencil. I've been really playing with the grease pencil a lot. I want to do like an animation. I remember a long time ago I did a video using PaintStorm, and someone said, why not grease pencil? And I was thinking, you know, I don't know why I used a grease pencil, but now I'm like, oh my god, we have to turn Blender into a sketching app. That would be the ultimate thing. So let's select this, and thanks to proxy, the array modifier is kept live. Hashtag pylons for proxy. So that's a disaster, right? Maybe we can just scale it and that'll fix it. So this thing's getting crazy. We can mirror on the Y, but we can't mirror on the X. Okay, I thought key press crashed. Y'all would have lost my keystrokes there. But really, I'm just left clicking and pressing G and sheesh. How can you fix something like that? It's like a really complex problem. Sheesh, someone's at the door. Alright, back. So I had a guess for a moment, so he's gone. So now I'm back to this video. So we were previously talking about dealing with this area here. So I could lower to B width, which is what I would normally do to solve it, but if we did want it to work out with something larger like this, we can always use Q, operations, bool scroll, object scroll in order to bring up the object scroll that we need, or the object from the cuts, and just make some slight adjustments to scale and position in order to get this to work out. But I will lower to B width because that will give us a better looking result. And also usually the more I cut something, the lower I go with the B width, unless I'm stepping things. So it really depends on the workflow, but today we'll just keep things somewhat basic. So right here I'm just going to bring a cut down. It's not going to work out. Wow, why would a cut fell so bad? Let's lower to B width and it's fine. So a lot of using Blender right now is going to be rolling with the punches because of this whole God, treat these wires like people. I cannot select this mesh for the life of me. In fact, I have to go into bool scroll, object scroll, and that's the fastest way really to get this object. So hard ups there for you, even when Blender's having a little bit of a hard time. So every time I do one of these cuts, I always like to follow it up with one of these numbers. But I'll press X, then I'll press B, and we'll just cut that slice out. And from there we'll lower the bevel amount. Press X to change that to red box from yellow box. Alright, so the next thing from here is I'm going to go over to circle, put this on corner draw, so that way it can haunt me when I go back to box because the behavior doesn't flip. And we'll just cut some shapes in here, hold shift, and I'm just going to use Q and object scroll and just cut to the chase. I could scroll backwards and just get the last boolean. But before that, I'm going to clean the mesh to go ahead and dissolve the center. We're just going to go in local mode with /. So this is something strange. Every time I start doing some extrusions in edit mode, in local mode, the mesh will jump out. It drives me crazy. Just one of those things, I guess. But one of the things I definitely love about 2.8, and I can't emphasize it enough, is this mesh is cut into this other mesh live. But as I extrude, model, and make modifications, you can see all these live changes happening. And this is just something that I saw someone saying that they felt 2.8 was somewhat of a gimmick. I didn't jump in because I don't argue over Blender. I'll let the results speak for themselves when it comes to this program. But it was interesting to see because it's kind of easy for, you know, it to look like that on the surface. But I mean, if I wasn't intimately dealing with Blender on a coding level and dealing with modeling so intensive, you know, there's a lot of things I think I would miss. Like there was a glitch in 2.79 where you couldn't use drivers with materials, and it was basically something related to the dependency graph. And a lot of the stuff that I think is going on now is connected to some of the refinements that they've done to that. But like whatever they've done to Blender is just great. I mean, it really puts it so far ahead of its predecessor that it's just not even funny. So I'm going to cut these in here. In fact, let's undo that one, and we'll cut this in proper, and then use V and then Y, and we'll roll down the segments till we get that many. We'll hold shift, let's press V again, click to apply, then hold shift and then click to apply that. And we're gonna select this shape. It's just so hard to select shapes, guys. In fact, we might have to come up with a selection optimization workflow in order to deal with this workaround in the meantime. But I mean, when it comes to Blender, you really got to just roll with the punches, especially at this moment in time. I've been with Blender since 2.49. I've seen it go through a couple of quite unstable moments, and this pales in comparison to some of the more legendary times, like the time that B-Mesh got added. But you know what's uglier was the time B-Mesh was not added. You know, the way that meshes used to behave. Also, I'm looking at this and I'm trying to grab this piece here, but it looks like I've already applied it to a level, but really I just need to put an edge loop in the center and it fixes it. So, you know, cut to the chase there, we'll call it a day. So continuing on, we will put a circle here. And what if you wanted to put something that wasn't like that circle, right? Like, I've just put in all these hollow circles. And it's really because lately I've just been thinking, like, who even notices these circles if there's a screw in it or a little bolt? I mean, people probably notice, but sometimes I just don't even put bolts, and you know, no one's like, hey, this thing's gonna fall apart because it has no bolts. Not saying people should start jumping on me for that. It would be kind of funny. I'd be like, that's the only engineering fault that you find, huh? So right here, I've realized I don't want circle anymore. I want box. So someday we'll be able to switch between box and circle on the fly again. But a lot of people have been writing about, you know, 2.8 is missing Ngon, you know, oh my god. And yes, we do plan on adding it back in ASAP, but because of all the changes between 2.8, it wasn't a easy port job. We did an initial port, and it was looking a bit plain, and also we would have been entering into 2.8 with the same problems that we had from 2.79 as far as 2D and 3D being two different tools that were trying to work in tandem, so they had separate features. So we're hoping that this time we can have a lot of additional things refined from the very get-go in order to make these tools the best versions as possible. I was just saying today how important it is to me personally that if we do a new Ngon, that the new Ngon would be capable of something like multiple shapes, right? Like you would be able to draw a continuous shape, stop, make another shape, and deal with shapes individually at the same time. I just think it would be a bit of a game changer. So it's things like that that we want to be able to add from the get-go and have these tools perform all the exact same with the users in mind, as far as getting them up and running with it as fast as possible. Everyone who writes in with a support issue definitely serves as an important example as far as what to do and what we can improve on and things like that. So anytime someone sends us a support message or a text, you know, less Ovaltine please, but yeah, anytime someone sends us a support message, it's something that gets forwarded around and discussed, you know. So every consideration, there's people that's requesting to be able to do things like remap every single key, and you know, these things are definitely planned and will come with time. However, at the current moment, we're trying to get things at least to a level where users are back where they were, and then from there we can look at adding in some of these other things, but at least getting this 7 release where we want it. So right here I'm inserting a sphere and using S sharpen to smooth it, which is something I do all the time. In fact, to be honest, the way that I make spheres is I insert cubes and then I'll use Q and Mesh Tools Sphere Cast, which is a function made by me. All it does is adds a subsurf and then a cast modifier with a factor of 1, which just creates a nice polysphere. And we will go under the object menu and convert to mesh because we're crazy. We haven't added that back to the Alt-C hotkey yet. And from here we're going to go ahead and array. So I apologize if I go on any tangents over the course of this video. Just kind of just random thoughts and modeling late night. So let's go ahead and save this. We're going to call this promise box 1_1. That's not a 1. Sneaky exclamation point's always trying to sneak up on me. So we're going to add a material. We're going to give it a transmission. And then from here, we're going to go into helper, and under settings, we're going to set the transparency to additive. Now, whenever we go into the next view over, look dev, or rendered, it's going to either look like glass or crash. And lower the roughness, you know, to be a little shinier. But yeah, it's either going to look like glass or crash. Also, we will take this, duplicate it, in edit mode. We will scale it down. And because we're using relative offset instead of constant offset, we have made a mistake here. We're not supposed to be using relative offset anymore for this very reason, because it's important that we are able to make this sort of thing happen. So from here, what we want to do is click on the plus to make this its own material, and we'll just give this an emissive material, make it red, give it a strength of like 8, and I'm just going to save it again because, believe me, glass crashes all the time, and that will suffice. So let's go back to this view, take a look at what we have here, maybe do a few more cuts. Like, uh-oh, had the wrong selection. We'll use box, and we were in center mode instead of draw mode. So as you can see, all these things that trip me up, they have to go. This tool, it's on its way. It'll be so great if when we fill that menu out. You know, when we put the initial version in there, we thought we'd have a little bit more time in order to get this ready, and it was just like, yeah, it's just a matter of time till users are using all these icons, and they'll be like, wow, I never thought y'all would have tried to connect it back with this thing. And also for users that are you know, asking about Fidget, like, we definitely have plans on revamping that for 2.8 and finally making it do its intended purpose. Fidget's been kind of a small project that we've been working on the side, but with the popularity of hard ops, it's just no time to get back to it. I don't know if I mentioned in any of my previous videos, but I did spend pretty much all last year working with Chip Walters on doing a augmented reality simulation of the Alamo, in which my girlfriend was also involved. It was a massive project. It took a large amount of time, but it was also a interesting learning experience. Yeah, time's always limited, but I mean, even at those times in which I'm not able to be completely involved. I need the bevel to at least be visible. You know, sometimes I just don't compromise. So let's look at this. Let's see, what can we do? Let's talk about this shape, because this one shape is what's causing the problem. So let's go to object scroll. It's not going to work because we're in local mode. I already knew that, but you can always hope, right? So let's do object mode, object scroll. So, you know, this video is all about object scroll day. Also, I'm scrolling in the wrong direction, or else I would have found this cube sooner. And there's the offender. And so we can either push it in, which will resolve this issue once and for all, but we can't push it in too far. And so also right here, we have an issue. And so, you know, there's a lot of easy ways I could be dealing with such things, but I want to definitely take some time in this video to just show how these things can actually be solved, how you can roll with the punches, how you can have a good time even while these modifiers are giving you the business, you know. Because our goal is to definitely make you walk away a winner. You know, new users sometimes mistake it that we have something to do with the bevel modifier, and you know, there's nothing to it. All we do is just make it easier for you to deal with it. The modifier is pretty much the same one as Blender itself. You just throw it on an object and you can test it out. So I mean, whenever things fail, there's always a bit of a fallback. For example, whenever you're cutting, you can cut, but you can also whenever you slice, you can also take that process apart and do the initial cut, see if it works, and then from there transition into the slice and see what aspect of the pipeline fails. And I find that to be somewhat important. It's important to be able to understand the why, because you want to be a smarter modeler every time. I mean, in these models, I use a fairly bad topology, but I mean, there are times, all the time, in which I just do it by the book. So even when you're doing it by the book, we're here for you. But if you're trying to just get in here, concept model, and have a fun time model like you would in, say, Fusion 360 or Moy, just get in here, just draw some shapes, just get real concepty with it. You know, we're here for you. That's our first goal. But the second goal is to help you get to plan, help you get from A to Z faster. Also select the right shape, and then you can draw your box right. So we're going to look at this and just be like, you know, how many cutters we got, you know? We look at this, we got 199 cutters. Far more than 77 cuts. Yeah, I thought 77 cuts was my Yoki limit, but let's really test this out, right? So I'm going to take a look at this. That's what we have. I'm going to save it in case this doesn't work out. We are going to go down. Seriously, Blender, you got to make it where we can hold Alt and click on that folder to enable everything. Like, that was so awesome. Where is that? How are we not possessing that? Now I gotta go through and make sure that some of these are enabled, because they're probably boxes we looked at some point. So I'll press Control Spacebar to get out of that full screen mode, and from here I'm just going to press A to select everything, because I just, you know, I personally work a little bit more, I guess, loose than you probably should, but you know, I just like pushing things to the max and make sure that everything's working optimally. So I'm going to press A to select everything, and then I'm going to Shift A or Shift click to remove this from the selection, and then click it again to make sure it's the active selection. Press Alt X to bring up the mirror, and we're going to just mirror this across on this side, and Let's see what we got. What is going to be problematic? Watch this. It's either going to crash. Alright, so that one looks good. Also, let's close all these cutters. I don't need these cutters anymore. Alright. So this part looks good, hidden. This part. Ooh, alright, so we're going to need to C-sharp this. Let's do it. Always follow your dreams. And we're going to have to fix some areas. But that is that. So we can hide that. And so this is what we have here. So one of these parts is just not accurate. Which one is it? Alright, let's revert it. It's probably something to do with all these dang mirror modifiers. So, what I will do is, when we select it, and we use, oh geez, we don't want to do that. If we C-sharp everything, it will also get these spheres. So, we do want to hide that. We also want to make sure that all of our cutters aren't showing. It's only the slices. If we had batch operations, we would just apply all the mirror modifiers. So that's like kind of what I'm rolling around in my head real quick is, geez, I don't have the, I don't have that particular tool. How am I going to function? So let's think on our feet real quick. C#. Let's see if C# will handle this. This is going to be disastrous. We use C# on too many consecutive objects in a row, and we have to go through and shift click mirror, and that's just never going to work. Except let's select everything, press Q, B width, let's bring it all down and then bring it back up again just a little bit, just like that. And so with that, we got it working. And that was just through kind of taking C# and making it also apply the mirror. Or, wait, we didn't? No, we did that to apply all the booleans. That's what we did. Sorry, losing train of thought here. It is getting a little late. Alright, so from here I'm just going to Alt X. And we're on bisect, so we're going to mirror that to the other side. We'll select this object, press Control I, shift click this one, Alt X, mirror this to the other side, and this is our object. So now from here, we can finally start wrapping this up. I apologize. I should edit this stuff out, but I was telling the person who came to visit that I'm gonna actually keep all these mess ups in here, so that way you can completely see this whole experience that I'm going through. So it's not just you who's having madness with 2.8. Let's back up here just in case you're not familiar with the process I just did there. So I Shift A, added a plane. And then from here, I'm just going to Shift Control R, add a loop cut, and I'll press V to rip that off. I'm just going to hover over the other side and press X and delete that after using L to select that linked mesh. And then we'll select this with left mouse button, delete the edge. And we'll select this edge and use Control Shift B to bevel it. And then we're going to use the object convert, formerly known as Alt C, and then convert this to a curve. Now 1, 2, and 3 are the settings that we have as presets. So I'm just using setting number 3. And also we can go into modifier helper and use mirror and just mirror this across the cube. Oh, so here's another glitch, you guys. This one's crazy. So, you know, the mirror modifier does not work if it's a curve. It used to, but instead now you have to take this and convert it to a mesh. And then from here we can actually use the helper, but for some reason it would curves wouldn't show up, and I just couldn't figure it out for the life of me. So I'll use the helper, also put that on the Z. We're just trying to make an impressive cube for our video thumbnail, you know. The thing about hard ops is you should definitely be walking away with a very nice result, or at least have had a fun time modeling. And you know, those are some of my favorite messages, are to people who you know, just get in here and just have a little bit of fun. And we'll get out of X-ray, and we can even take this thing and put it on the front as well. Oh God, get out of here. God, get out of here. R90. Everything's trying to stop me from doing this video. My girlfriend wanted to watch a show. I told her, I was like, you know, I have to finish this video. But she didn't want me. So we'll go in X-ray mode. Select this half. Move it down the Y. Get out of X-ray mode. Wow, we're in a dark view. Toggle X-ray, and we're back. So Control Shift S. This time we're gonna just hit the plus icon to incremental save it, and we're good to go. So if we press Alt H, we have everything here, including this light that we do not want, and we can go to Look Dev mode and see what that gives us, which viewport just looks fantastic all the time. Unlike those shadows earlier that were playing some tricks on me, but 2.8, gotta love it. We're gonna just make the floor darker after adding a material. Roughness is probably fine. I'm gonna Shift A, add a area light. We'll put this area light up above. A Control T, not gonna work because Ton just didn't want me to have that. And we'll put a track 2 constraint using the panel. And also we want to make sure we turn on scene lights. We could also do that in the Alt V menu under scene lights. And you can also use Q and turn on the contact shadow, which will help your render out immensely. Contact shadow should just probably be on by default. Anyways, continuing on, we want to put one more just up above, and we want to use the right click menu to lower the energy. We went to negatives. We want to lower that one's energy. Select this one with left click because that feels weird. And do the same there. Now we'll just select this. Its material's been applied to 81 different objects. And so from here we're just going to change the metallicity, lower the roughness, and one thing we also want to do is you know, we can actually go under here, turn off light. However, let's insert a reflection cube map. Let's insert, not that, let's insert an irradiance volume. And then let's at least tell Blender we don't want to touch this stuff. We don't want to touch cameras either. fact, really, we don't want to touch anything except the mesh. So let's take this, hide it. Let's take this, really hide it. Select everything. Let's take the floor, hide it. Anything else here needs to be hidden. Alright, so we'll select this, Control L, link materials. And now from here, we can begin moving into the final paces of shading, which shading and cutting still goes hand in hand. You know me, I can't stop cutting, even at the end. So, playing an Eevee, it's like EA games. You just gotta do it for America. Just get in there, bells some faces. Just try it. From here, we're gonna give this one a different material. Maybe like a more basic gray, more roughness. We don't want so much going over into that one color. We want a few variants in there, but we also don't want too much chrome. You give away all the chrome, you know, they won't come back for more. You gotta make them work for the chrome. In fact, let's really bring this down to like some gunmetal. Play with the roughness. So I really want to get in here and make more advanced materials. I really do. But I'm just so hung up on what Principal's doing right now. I mean, I've been playing with nodes, and I've got some interesting tricks I want to show you guys involving the vector curves and using it to make procedural effects. But right now, you can get so far with just good lighting. Well, I shouldn't call my own lighting good. You know, there's probably a lighting expert out there that's like you're trash. So right here, I want these two edge loops to be aligned. I'm gonna press Q, reset axis, and choose just Y. And from here, I know I'm set to basically Control B, bevel it in order to space it, double tap E or press E and then right click to cancel, and then press Alt S in order to push this out, and then we'll just S sharpen it, and I'll just add a little extra there. So like I said, our journey's not over yet. You know, we got to get a nice cube. We got to get a cube that no one will challenge. You know, if you're out there challenging my cubes, you watch out. I'm coming for you. I do response cubes. You know, if you want to put a challenge cube out there, unless you're like really crazy. If you're Vitaly Bulgarov, you know, just go home. Just get out of here. You know, I was talking about you. But, no, I'm just kidding. Play with you anytime, Vitaly. So, continuing on, let's do another cut. Every time I do these cuts, you know, I'll be hanging out with Proxy, and I'll just be telling them as I'm cutting, you know, how much I miss material cut. You know, material cut was so great. We have to get it back so fast. Believe me, I'm the biggest lobbyer for these tools. Like at 6 o'clock in the morning, I like woke up and got out of bed and just came in here and started dealing with Boxcutter business, because it never sleeps. Never sleeps. Like I told my girlfriend I would come. That's probably why she hasn't been going to be involved with me today, actually. I told her I was going to come back. Never did. Hashtag Boxcutter. Hashtag 2.8. So let's do another slice here. And every one of these little slices is just a nice little gift. I mean, The computer gets a little slow, but I mean, I'm powered by the AMD Threadripper too, so this computer makes out fine. Like, it's never the hardcore stuff that makes a computer scream for me. It's always like something really odd, like scrubbing a timeline. Alright, let's do the cut right here. And we're looking pretty good. So let's cut one of these off. And we'll assign that material as well. I was worried that I was going to make this cut and it wasn't going to show up everywhere else. So worried for a moment. Luckily, earlier me was smarter than current me. So this cut will never work. Just to show you what that looks like. Well, I won't look a gift horse in the mouth. However, I am immensely curious as to how this cut was able to work out. Actually, I would rather undo it because I just don't trust that cut. You know, one of the rules of this video is do not cut across the mirror point. If you cut across the mirror point, things are going to get a little unpredictable, and that's always been a rule in Blender, or at least a rule from me, you know, or a pro tip or hot tip or something. You know, don't cut across mirrors unless you got a death wish, or you're wearing your wizard's hat. Receiving messages, things are probably happening. Lots of pings are happening. Boxcutter things are happening. I gotta wrap up this video. I am needed. However, I have to finish this video, and I have to get a nice result. That way I can say, hey guys, look at this result. We'll press V. Gosh darn it. These modifiers are gonna be the death of me. Like, I'm gonna die of a heart attack yelling about how this dango modifier double click, and how double click, you know, used to not even be a thing, and now it's a thing for everybody. Why would this have this problem? Let's see what the solve looks like. It looks like that. Let's get in here and ask this thing, hey, can we see that object? Alright, so for this one, let's at least apply the intersect. What if the thing we're accusing isn't guilty? There's only one way to find out. Get in here and look at the geo. Oh. We found it. We found the source. Let's just use the knife. Cut across. Have local mode betray us. Oh God, come on, local mode, stop betraying me. Actually, I was joking. Alright, we're gonna exit local mode by dissolving these edges using Control X. And if we look at this back geo, oh, definitely this one, problematic. We look at this again, sheesh, local mode, it's just crazy. You know, I might report that later, but I'll probably double check and just make sure that it's a known issue, because that's how it always goes with these sort of things. Alright, and we didn't forget what our goal was. Our goal was to seal this deal up, but before that we have to push it to the limit. You know, we're so glad that we fixed that piece, and to show our gratitude, we're gonna just cut that piece up some more. Up here, this is a piece I would cut. Not the best choice, but it's a choice I can live with. I'll press B, can't live with that choice. I'll hold shift when I apply it, and let's Control Z undo it, because that choice did not play out the way I wanted it to. Let's try it a second time. And this piece is perfect for that task. So let's Alt H, bring back everything. Let's grab this. But you know what's real hard to grab is the piece behind it. So I have to grab that, then press Alt H. And it doesn't select the pieces when you unhide them anymore, which is also kind of weird. You know, the more I use 2.8, more things are a little weird. It's like waking up in a dream. Alright. But I see the future, and it looks bright. Yeah, I saw someone saying that Blender might be moving in the wrong direction, but if the goal of Blender is to attract new users and widen its audience, then I think they're doing a pretty effective job at going in that direction. If they have a different direction, then I don't know. But I see a lot of people switching over. A lot of people I said, hey, don't even bother don't even try Blender. You know, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, don't even use it. You know, it's my program. You know, so many people made fun of me for using it, you know. So at this point, I'm like, I can't believe you're even trying it. Just close it. Just close my program. You'll never get it. And in the end, people end up getting it even worse. They end up getting better at it. You know, like I badgered Tony about it forever. It's like, Tony, don't even bother. Just stick with ZBrush. Just keep retopoing meshes and all that business. But no, he sought a better life. He saw the possibilities in B3d. You know, I love this part so much. So much. How much do I love it? This much. I just like to make sure my cuts go through. Like, that instant bevel feedback's just insane. I mean, I can shift select this sphere and Control L, materials. Let's take this in local mode. Let's C-sharp it. Let's press 1. And the reason I C-sharped it was to apply the modifiers for the boolean, mainly the intersect, so I could just have the piece that matters. Because all I'm trying to do for this is just turn it into a glass segment. Super fast. we'll press H, select that, Alt H. Dang it. I loved how hide used to select stuff. Like, make hide select again. We'll just put a couple of lights out, just in case people need my box to show them the way. Like, do you know the way? Alright, we will hide that one. Let's select this piece. Try to remain focused, but if you could hear what I'm listening to, it sounds like literal garbage. I should just change the track. And I can't because I remapped that button on my keyboard. I'm like so into hotkeys, I've remapped the media buttons on here. You know, I got a problem, you guys. Also, maybe if I love that red so much, I should just turn it into a big little strip somewhere. Just right here, just a real quiet, real shallow little strip. You know, we won't talk about it, but you'll know it's there. So, you're like, hey, you got this crazy box. What are you going to do with it? Well, I'll add it to my stack of boxes. I actually want to do this video ad for a Boxcutter someday where a bunch of boxes are just like floating in the sea. So I'm always on the lookout for someone in these Blender Discords to say that they've become a Manta raid master and they want to try something interesting. You know, I would take them up on that task and have them try to do this floating Boxcutter ad where a bunch of boxes are floating in water. Otherwise, I'll end up doing it, but it is something that I have ambitions for. So I'll collapse these windows so that way I can grab it from the corner and split it like classic. Just in case you didn't know, grabbing Blender windows by the corner, you know, Donald Trump style, will help you split them. You know, just take that 3D view and grab it by the corner. Anyways, we're going to change this over to a graph editor. And is this the graph editor? Okay, I'm just going to press I. And then I'm going to jump forward some frames to 10. This timeline is nuts. Like, left mouse click selects in the 3D view, but over here you have to right click to move this thing. Like, oh my god. It's everything Blender could do to make it hard to understand for a split moment. They definitely did. But I don't care what you do, Blender. I'll always know you. So I took this keyframe and I Shift deduplicated it. You can tell them when I'm tired, I just stop explaining these hotkeys. I mean, you guys get it, I hope. Let's Control Z. I don't want to move my start frame though, but I will move this over GX. Same hotkeys as 3D view. You can constrain it on the X or the Y. And from here, we're just going to add a modifier of cycles. And this will make it pulse. Previously, I was using drivers, which drivers are Q, but also, so is just doing this very quickly and being done with it, which is our goal, is to very quickly add pulsing lights, maybe even move this over, give it a nice long wave. Alright, sorry, that's not even the sound effect that you would hear for lights. That's how off I am this late at night. I mean, this is 48 minutes added on to this video. I was trying to wrap up where I lost my train of thought when I got distracted by someone earlier. So, I jumped the intensity up to 8 because I just like doing that. And then I'll just up the threshold till I definitely got the lights. And then I'll lower the radius and bring it out again obnoxiously. I just do it without even thinking. Not for any reason other than I love seeing blown out bloom in the 3D view. You know, Blender is just insane. Like, I have to get a second job to add more to the funding. Like, this program is going places. So I look at a cube like this and I just can't help but think, first of all, I need my logos, but we need kit ops for that. Secondly, volumetrics. I saw a video by Chocofer where he put volumetrics inside a cube. We'll save it because he said it crashes, but if you are familiar with Chocofer's YouTube channel, he did a video about making clouds in Blender, or making volumetric fog in Blender, and I found it very interesting and informative. Volume scatter. So the workflow I'm using is just me trying to recall what he had did before. So node editor, adding nodes is the same as in Blender. I also want to add, if you want this to behave like regular node editor, you can use the T panel to choose select. Personally drives me nuts. We will shift A, add a noise texture. Plug this into density using the factor gray to gray. And then from here we'll get a color ramp. And this is pretty much the same workflow that Chocofer used. I might make a few changes. And also we want to turn on volumetrics. Blender may crash. Oh, wrong material. Alright. It should work better if we plug it into the right one. And here we go. So actually want to be slightly dusty compared to normal. Everybody's been going so Blade Runner on all their scenes lately. I've been complaining about it like, hey, so Blade Runner-y, but just volumetric smoke is just crazy. Smoke in cycles was not my favorite time to render smoke, but seeing it over in 2.8 in real time is just amazing. And I'll also add Chocofer's tutorial in the description. I found it to be a great watch, and the technique that I use here is exactly one that he used in the tutorial where he talks about it more in depth. But with that, I will wrap up this video, and I will see you guys next time. Alright guys, I was about to end the video, but I just didn't want to end the video without completely ending the video the way that I would end this whole thing and just move on to the next thing. And that is through going in here and setting up my render settings. So I forgot to even turn on volumetric shadows, so that's an improvement. I also added depth of field to the camera, in which I need to select a focus on object. And in this case, I actually chose one of these little cubes at the front. One of these. And then from there lowered my f-stop, and over here enabled depth of field. I also set it to filmic high contrast, lowered the exposure to gamma until things look just right. And this is my result. And so I can jump through a couple of these setups here just to kind of see what it looks like. And in every lighting scenario, it looks like it's not going to be a good outcome for whoever you put this device onto. Like it's like a futuristic sci-fi taser or something. But over in the rendered view, we'll set up the final render, which I actually have started making a process out of setting up my final renders as well in Eevee. Usually I was going through LookDev and just calling it a day, but you can't get LookDev to render, so you might as well take it all the way there. So I'm a big fan of these free HDRIs. However, there was an Octane pack of HDRIs that I found online that was also free, and all they are just like little light rooms. And so these are some of my favorite lighting setups, just because of what they can give you in the scene as far as a very simple lighting that doesn't have like reflections of trees and stuff like that going on in them. But we'll just go ahead and throw it in there, and that will be our final render, except we can take it up a step further. Like now we probably do want some reflections of stuff, so I'll go on my SIBLs, which are the free ones, and just we'll look through a couple of these and see what we got here. I don't like the colors we're getting there. The colors we're getting here could be cool, maybe something like that, but let's go in here and just look through a couple of these. We can find just the right color mood, and that's really what I'm looking for here, jumping through them. Actually, this one could be cool. I knew it. I saw the potential in it from afar. That one's going to get us something interesting. So now, using the power of the GTX 2080 Ti, I'll press F12. Let's see what our render time is looking like. I mean, I think they said in one of the build notes that they are going to be adding RTX support. But I mean, with the render time of 5 seconds, how much better do I need it to get? But anyways, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this video, and I'll catch you guys next time. And thank you for watching.